Yeah, they never think about revenue share and agent attraction. And that is true passive residual income that will be sustainable after you get out of the business. So it's a lot of these companies, it's willable to your kids or your family, and it's something that you will continue to collect for years to come. So it's a lot of people call it mailbox money, but I know a lot of people that are making 250,000, 400,000 a month in revenue share. And that has made them a multimillionaire, not selling houses.
All right, everybody, what's up? It's the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. I'm your host, Monte Reyment. Today, I have Dana Flanagan on the show. Dana has been in real estate for over 2 decades. She's done production, recruiting, brokerage growth, capital funding, you name it, she's done it. But the real reason I wanted to talk to her today was she's got perspective on this industry that most agents are not paying attention to. And that's really mergers, acquisitions, strategic partnerships, the stuff that's really reshaping how brokerages grow and survive. So if you're an agent trying to figure out your next move or a broker wondering how to stay competitive, this one's really for you. Dana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You bet. So tell people who you are, what you're doing right now. This all stuff all sounds very interesting. And of course, me being a new broker, I'm pretty excited about learning a lot about this stuff today.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate for over 25 years. Residential real estate is where I started and did all the things, was a top producing agent in my town, in my county, and had a team, operated in multiple states. And then as my career evolved, I got into more leadership positions. I started doing a lot of agent attraction with revenue share models and platforms. And most recently, I have joined a company called Brands by Integra. I'm their VP of growth there. And Brands by Integra is a company where we are multifaceted. We merge with brokerages, we partner with brokerages, and sometimes we purchase them. And we really are just there to provide value with a huge value proposition that we have and to be able to help them scale and alleviate the pain points that they may be experiencing. So whether that's on the operational side or maybe that's on the growth side, we can come in and put a plan together that is specific for that brokerage and be able to help them scale. So that's what we're focused on. We also bring in individual agents as well. We have a lot of flexibility with what we can offer them and how we can help them.
I love it. I love it. So the old playbook was recruit. Is that still working?
I mean, it does in a different way, right? Like, I think people are really tired of being recruited. I think people want solutions to their real world problems that are happening in today's day and age. And a lot of those brokerage models, they're one size fits all. So as soon as people hear about, and I'm not going to name names, but some of the large brokerages out there that are heavy on
Yep.
recruiting, they're like, no, thank you. Right. And that's because they already have heard about it. They've been recruited 20 times. And even if those brokerages have different models within a certain team or organization, those agents don't want to hear it. So we're able to come in and effectively say, hey, what are the problems you're experiencing in your real estate business? If you could have a perfect world in real estate, what would that look like? And we can craft a proposal for that particular agent or that brokerage, and we can offer them several different options and opportunities for them to take away their pain points and allow them that ability to scale and grow and really truly hit their goals.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too. And you and I talked yesterday a little bit, but the interesting thing I noticed, I have now interviewed 3 more agents since I talked to you yesterday. And the really thing that keeps coming up is a sense of community and that they feel like they're on an island. Like there's just no support. You know, like one of the agents I talked to said that she hadn't talked to her broker in 3 months and she had legitimate questions for that broker. So very interesting to hear that take on it. So when we're looking at brokerages that are actually growing right now, what are they doing differently?
I think they're offering options, right? So options to the agents, to the brokerages, and flexibility. You know, we have what's called a hybrid model where we are able to work with people and brokerages that want that in office brick and mortar opportunity still. That was never me. I always worked from home, but a lot of people still really like going into the office. So we have that side of our model. Then we also have a cloud-based model. And then we have that kind of in between, right? Where people like the idea of going to an office in their town, but they don't necessarily need to sit there every day, but they still like having that ability to go in there, talk to people, talk to the broker, maybe have a meeting or have a sales training there. So our model is really one of a kind. There's nobody else doing what we're doing. And it solves a problem for virtually every agent out there. They just don't know about it and they need to know about it.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think the next question that I have in here, it really relates to what I went through early on, was why I decided, okay, I'm 4 years into real estate. I have a pretty good gauge on this. I have a coaching background. I think I want to take a jump and be a broker myself. And what I did was, I tried to scale probably a little bit too quickly. So when you're evaluating brokerages and, what are the most common mistakes you see when brokers are trying to scale too fast?
Yeah, absolutely. They collect people. They collect agent count. Oh, we have 50 agents. We have 75 agents, but a lot of those agents are part-time or they're not
Yeah.
very big producers. So in the end, you're not seeing the GCI that you need to be seeing and your margins are very slim. And so instead of focusing on some heavy hitters or a few select teams, they're focused on collecting agents. The more people I can get registered, the more bodies I have. And that is a recipe for failure. So that's probably the biggest thing that we see with brokerages that are kind of starting out, not on the right foot.
Yeah. And I think too that, another point in this is, it starts in operations, right? Like, sales drive revenue, right? Of course, GCI is the revenue generator, but you have to have that foundation, I think, for operational aspects. Like for me, I need an executive assistant. I need a TC. I need a marketing person. I have a COO. Like we've established that, and it took us a while to get us all on the same page. And we did a lot of trial and error. Those brokerages that are doing the best job, what are they doing on the operational side to support their sales teams?
Yeah, well, they have teams like us behind them, to be honest with you, on a lot of them. We've got over 2,500 agents. We're acquiring brokerages, weekly now. And so we have a full, like, bulletproof system that we can plug and play. What I'm seeing with brokerages that are successful at this is that they've got a dedicated person handling that. And they're not just trying to do everything, because when the broker owner is trying to wear all the hats, that's where we see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of failure.
Yep.
So just having a really robust system that everything talks to each other. And we'll see some kind of outdated models where people have this system does this and this system does this, but they're kind of piecemealing it together. And that continuity there's no continuity there of how that works.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that's takes up a lot more of their time and their resources as well.
Yeah. And so with that being said, what's the first thing that, a team or a small brokerage should fix if they're just at that point of, hey, I'm doing too much and I've worn all the hats. I did all the marketing. I did the accounting. I did all of that stuff early on. I'm still producing, those kind of things. And now I'm getting to that point where I love to produce. It's like, it's my competitive nature kind of thing. But, the other part about it is like, I have to be trusting enough to pass things off now. And I have the right people in place to be able to do that now. So what is it that those small brokerages can do to fix before they do add anything else or they do get over their head?
I mean, I think it's really bringing in resources, right? They're either going to bring in a resource locally and somebody who's going to come sit in their office like a COO or like an EA or anything like that, or they're going to hire and partner. That's why a lot of people partner with us, because we have all
Mm-hmm.
that. It's plug and play. We work with several different brands. I mean, underneath our umbrella, we've got Century 21, Coldwell Banker. We've got a lot of independents. We've got a Corcoran Group. So we operate underneath the Compass International Holdings umbrella. And so we have all the tools that Compass provides their agents, and it's very robust. As you know, they're a huge conglomerate now. So really, you're going to pay for it one way or another, right? You're going to
Yeah.
pay for it in hiring somebody in-house. And most of the time, those people haven't done it before. And if you haven't done it before either, you're better off just going with somebody that does this every day. That's going to help you scale a lot faster.
Yeah, for sure. So most agents kind of get back to the essence of the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast, right? Like we're talking broker stuff and really like the big picture. And I think this is really good for those agents to understand that are maybe struggling. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in a brokerage that most agents never actually know about or see. So I think that part of the conversation is good. But at the end of the day, the brokerage scales down all the way to what those individual agents do every single day, right? Like that's the most important part. So most agents are stuck really living, deal to deal. In your opinion, what does it actually take to break that cycle?
I think it's, having the right systems in place, right? So like, I mean, my first hire was a TC. I know a transaction coordinator that handles all of my paperwork so that I could be out front and center selling. And so I think that you've got to provide leverage. And realtors we're all like A-type personalities. They don't want to give up and delegate, right? So it
Mhm.
ends up being this like, I just, can do it faster myself, but really you're sort of holding yourself back because if you're doing all the
Yeah.
paperwork, you're doing all of the sales and marketing, you're doing the cold calling, you're doing the listing appointments, you're doing the buyer showings, at some point you're just not you're going to be completely your time is going to be eaten up. So focusing on one thing, maybe being a listing agent, which is what I did towards the end of my business. My last 10 years of my business, I did only listings. I had a buyer's agent. I had 3 buyer's agents on my very successful team. And I did that on purpose. I didn't want a huge team. I never wanted to have this 50-person team. It worked very well the way that it was. But I think just finding that leverage, knowing what you're good at and what you suck at, so that you can put those systems in place in the positions where you're not necessarily as good or want to do those things.
Yeah, sounds like a self-awareness check is in order for those. And I think the people you're talking about are probably the ones that are like 10, 15 deals and they're just, a little bit overwhelmed at that point. And then how do you get to that next step? One a month is, for me is super easy to manage. I get nervous if I have if I only have one going a month. That's like, oh my God, I'd freak out now. But yeah, and then another part about real estate, and this more than anybody, is there's so many different revenue streams. So you don't necessarily have to be boxed into being an agent. You could be an agent and something else. So what's like one revenue stream that a lot of people never think about building?
Yeah, they never think about revenue share and agent attraction. And that is true passive residual income that will be sustainable after you get out of the business. So it's a lot of these companies, it's willable to your kids or your family, and it's something that you will continue to collect for years to come. So it's a lot of people call it mailbox money, but I know a lot of people that are making 250,000, 400,000 a month in revenue share. And that has made them a multimillionaire, not selling houses. So
Mm-hmm.
looking for income streams that pay you while you sleep are going to be super important. And a lot of realtors are too busy to take a step back and try to figure out how to implement another revenue stream. So they live on this perpetual hamster wheel and it gets exhausting. It really
Mm-hmm.
does. And there's just no, like, when was the last time you went to a realtor retirement party, right? Like, realtors just kind of fall out of the business and they just disappear. And that's, you work too hard and you build a legacy for yourself and you build a name for yourself in your area. And, hopefully people know who you are and that's what makes you successful. But what are you doing with that at the end, right? Are you just
Right.
like, today's my last year in real estate and I'm just going to get out of the business? At least leverage that somehow. Be an attractor, build a value proposition around your skills and what you've done. Maybe do some coaching. There's a lot of different ways that you can leverage income in the real estate world.
Yeah. So when did you stop thinking transaction to transaction? What was your transition like and what changed for you that got you out of being an agent?
Yeah, I was presented with revenue share back in 2012 through Keller Williams at the time. And I didn't, at the time, there was no EXP and there wasn't any of the other big companies. So Keller Williams was the only company doing it. And I moved over to that company and my income doubled and it really took off. And they have a great training program and I'm not with them anymore, but absolutely love the company. And I got to see, because I was bringing agents over anyway. Teammates wanted to come with me. People said, "Oh, you're at this brokerage. I want to come." And I
Mm-hmm.
never got anything for that. And I'm naturally just an attractor and I'm very good at business development and growing companies. So I would just say, "Hey, talk to Susie or talk to Jimmy." But I never got anything for it. I didn't make anything from their sales. I didn't get anything for bringing them over. And when Keller Williams said, "Oh, this is how our payment structure works," I was like, "Wow, that's genius." And obviously, the revenue share models have evolved since then. There's a lot of companies doing them now, but it really showed me the possibilities. I still get paid from them every single month because I continue to just renew and sign my revenue share thing every year that they send it to me. So that's really true passive income. And so
Yeah.
I think that a lot of agents are missing the boat on that because they just think, I don't want to be a recruiter. It's not necessarily like you can go be a recruiter and call people, but it's really just telling people why you love your company so much.
Yeah. What does a revenue share program typically look like?
So it depends with different companies. It's usually like a 5 tier, like a 5 level or a 7 level downline. Our company is a 5 level downline. So it's a percentage off of the sales of the gross commission that comes in from a check. So for instance, if an agent comes in that you sponsored and it's a $10,000 commission check, they're going to get, X, I can't do the math right now, depending on what company it is, but the company's going to take the company dollar, and then that company dollar, you get a percentage off of that. So whether it be 3%, 4%, 5%, 2%, whatever it is in that particular company, you're going to make a percentage off of every single person that comes in underneath you, not just people that named you your sponsor, but people that named that sponsor and that sponsor. And it goes, like I said, either 5 or 7 levels deep on most plans. So you've got a real organization, after a while, because you may bring in someone like me who can bring in 150 people in the first couple months. So now you just brought in one person, but I brought in a ton of people, right? So
Yeah.
it's really, the possibilities are endless, and you don't have to go be a recruiter. It's just sharing why you like your company so much. And a lot of these companies are national. So it's not just locally in your town. It could be talking to somebody across the country, and they're
Right.
telling you they want to move. And maybe you tell them that, you've had a great experience where you are.
Yeah. And you can I'm sure somebody could always reach out to you and ask you the differences between an EXP model and, other companies' revenue shares. And I'm sure you probably know I was going to say, yeah. All right, guys. So if you're getting something out of this conversation, do me a favor, please subscribe, leave a review, share this with, an agent who needs to hear it. We're about to get into something a little bit more deep here, and that's called money, not commissions, the capital side, how deals actually get funded. So click that like button, take a listen. So you're involved in capital funding for agents and investors listening. What does that actually mean in plain English?
Yeah, so I work with a lot of investors and developers, people that are looking for private money. So they're not going and getting a traditional mortgage. They are going through like a venture capital, private equity investor side of things. So there are two sides of what I do typically. The debt side, which that person needs a loan, except, they're not going to get a loan through a traditional bank. So they're looking for 25 millions to develop a shopping center. And so they'll come in through our firm. We underwrite them a little bit different. I'm not involved in the underwriting process. I drive the business there, but we underwrite them a lot of the same ways that you would underwrite a mortgage. My fiance is a mortgage broker, so I understand mortgage side pretty well, but they can get a loan. And then also we have equity side, which is kind of like Shark Tank, right? Like you've got somebody that is looking for $2 million and they need an equity partner. Like they don't necessarily want to have a loan. So we'll have an investor come in for a portion of their company or their business or their project and provide them that equity that they need to get going. So debt is a lot easier to get funded than equity, and it's a lot faster. And the same rules apply. For the most part, we have some ways that we can finagle things a little bit better than like a traditional mortgage broker or a bank, but you still need to have decent credit. You still need to have some skin in the game. It can't be a pie in the sky opportunity. You have to,
Right.
people come to us, they don't own, they want to develop something, they don't own the land yet. I mean, it's like the disasters that you hear in the mortgage world are the same type of things that need to check out in the private capital world. So worked on a lot of different projects from multifamilies to hotels and resorts. And, a lot of these projects take a very long time to get funded as well.
Yeah, for sure. So where do most people go wrong when they try to fund their own growth or their first investment deal?
Well, they don't listen to the professionals, as you can probably imagine. And they come unprepared in the sense that they don't have a pitch deck. They don't have a executive summary on their project. So they just kind of start throwing things out there to us. We can't really wrap our heads around what their project is. And it's a little different than just filling out an application like you would for a mortgage. We want to take a look at the demographics. What does the ROI look like over, like a 5-year pro forma? Like, what does that look like? So we know how we're going to get our money back and we know that this is a viable project. So they come completely unprepared. One of the things that I do, I actually have a executive advisory and strategic positioning firm. We actually prepare people to help them get ready to receive capital and actually go out and present themselves for capital, because so many people are just throwing spaghetti against the wall and they're not prepared. So that is one of the biggest problems that we see, is just a lot of people are they're just very green, and their expectations are not in line with their buyer profile.
Sure. So are these all real estate backed, or are these like small businesses that you guys fund, or is it a myriad of different things?
We do a lot of real estate backed. Obviously, that's easier for us because we have a tangible
Hmm.
asset, but we do startups, we do businesses. We have, the equity deals that we come across are sometimes very involved, but our favorite is asset backed real estate.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, like you said, yeah. You have tangible things you can touch. That's important. I love it. I love it. So what's the one thing about creative financing that would surprise most agents? Because I mean, we're talking most agents aren't even thinking about capital funding. They're just looking for a buyer or a seller in, their first year or two. But bigger picture wise down the road, opening their mind up and saying, hey, this thing is a much larger. Even for me, as I get into this and I connect with more and more people, it's mind blowing the types of people I get to talk to on this podcast and how far along and how more advanced they are. And it's like, okay, I think I'm doing pretty good. And then you see somebody else and you're like, oh man, there is a much bigger ceiling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I know tons of people that own like 4,000 doors, and they've got, massive Class A, Class B properties, those apartment buildings that you see that's got the rooftop pool that are like the full luxury, that's
Oh
Class
yeah.
A property. But one of the biggest misconceptions is that you actually can go buy a lot of properties and not even use any of your own money. And
Hmm.
so what I mean by that is you can pull a home equity on your current home or a property that you have, and you use that as a down payment on the next property. And then you pull a home equity loan on that property. So I know somebody that's done that on 31 properties, right? They own
That's
31
awesome.
properties. So
Yep.
you can continue to just leverage the equity in every single property to continue to go buy the next one. And
Hmm.
that's really smart investing. And a lot of people don't understand the concept of that, but it's very doable.
I love it. I love it. So, what does this industry look like in 5 years? You're dealing with the big stuff, right? So, trickling it all the way down, what does this industry look like? Everybody's scared of AI. They're going to replace our jobs and all that other stuff. And I think AI is going to be an advancement. I don't think you can replace face to face and relationships. That's, to me, not going to ever change. But what are you thinking?
That's a good question, because this industry is changing. It's changing every single year. I don't think AI is going to replace realtors or robots or any of this stuff. And the reason for that is exactly what you said. This is a very emotional decision for a lot of people. And it is something that requires personal touch, right?
Hmm.
And I don't think you're never going to be able to replace that personal touch of having a person guiding you through that process. I was at a restaurant in Arizona last week, and a robot came and delivered our food,
Oh,
which I've
nice.
never seen. It was like a wheelie cart that came up, and it says like in digital letters like, your food is here. And
Yep.
that was fine, but we kind of stared at it like, are we supposed to take our food off, or does somebody come and like pick the plates? And a server did come over and pick the plates, and but I was thinking of that, the experience that you get at a really nice restaurant with, all the servers coming out at the same time with your food, and they've got the napkin over their arm and everything. That's an experience that you're paying
Hmm.
for. And
Yep.
so this is an experience that you're paying for. And I think that having that replaced by AI or robots or, Bluetooth lock boxes, which we have already, I just don't see it happening. I think
Yeah.
people still want that personal touch. They want that personal guidance. There are some people that say to me, like with really big deals, I asked Chat GPT and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you literally, I mean, I rely on Chat GPT for a lot of things, right?
Yep.
It's easier to write emails. It's easier to diagnose like, something real quick. And
Yeah. Refines things. Yeah.
I'm not going to I'll take into consideration what it says, but I'm not going to use it as my personal business coach, right? Very good at doing that. But in the end, you still have to use a little bit of logic and have like real world conversations. So I think it's going to continue to assist us with like listing videos and that kind of stuff. And I don't know what's down the road, but I don't think it's ever going to replace the real estate agent.
Yep. Yep. Good. So if you could tell every agent or any agent one thing they need to do right now to not become irrelevant during that time, what is it? Because people will I think AI is going to separate the resourceful agents from the ones who are just, the fly by night agents. And we've all seen them. The ones who are using it and using it to refine and be efficient are going to be good. The ones who don't won't, and they'll just be gone. I think there's going to be a lot less real estate agents, but I think the good ones will certainly survive and be around.
Yeah. So I would say get networked. You need to get out there and be visible. Visible, give yourself that exposure, be visible in your community. If you're specifically targeting a neighborhood, I don't know if maybe there's a club, country club or something there. Maybe there's a community. I don't even know. Could be anything, church, whatever you do, function, sports, whatever it is.
Yep.
Get networked and be visible, because if you're not visible, you're forgotten. The people that are visible, especially online on social media, if you're not leveraging social media, you're way behind already.
Yeah.
But get networked, create relationships where people know who you are and they feel they connect with you, and differentiate yourself with your own brand. Stop worrying about what brand you work for, brand yourself. So if you ever need to move or you are moving, you can take that with you and you never have to be worried about using the company email address or whatever it is that you did because you branded yourself. So get networked and get out there. Make sure people know who you are.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the one thing I've seen. It probably happens everywhere, but in our area, I noticed it recently again. It happens like every other year. All of a sudden, there's just this mass exodus of agents. They just brokerage hop and they think the grass is greener. And in reality, none of them have actually done anything over that period of time to brand themselves as that person. To me, it doesn't matter what brokerage you're at if you're happy with the comp plan, right? Like the comp plan would be the only reason you would go to me, in my opinion, would be go to one specific brokerage or another. But nobody buys a house from Monte Reyment because I'm at Take Action Realty Group or Coldwell Banker or Keller Williams. It's because of me, right? So the same thing applies. I think to your point is spot on. We actually just had an agent start with us. He came from a different brokerage as well. And I think the coolest thing about him was he came to me about 2 weeks ago and goes, he went to a conference. So he had 55 ideas, right? And he came to me and said, what should I do out of all these ideas? And I go, you're brand new to the area. You live in this one neighborhood that's close to Lambeau Field. I'm like, go walk the neighborhood and knock on doors. And he took 2 hours to do it and got 3 listings.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So
that's great.
It was pretty cool. So
being visible for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And just being a friend and a neighbor. That's all he was. It was simple. It was really cool. So what are you working on now that people should know about?
Well, I'm always looking for agents and broker owners that are looking to leverage their business. They're looking to have more leads. They're looking to have more business. If they're an agent, they're looking for more time back, more leverage, more tools. And if they're a broker owner looking to grow their brokerage, to have that in-house recruiter, to be able to have the value proposition that we provide, not only with Brands by Integra, but through Compass International Holdings, all the tech and all the lead systems and everything, and the operational side of things that we just kind of come in and take over. So really whatever pain points people have, whether it's they want to grow, they need operations, they're not scaling, they're barely surviving maybe, those are all things that we can help them with and really come in, and everything is personalized. We dissect what they need and we come up with a personalized plan for them. We work with them on that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. So any last advice for those agents out there that feel they suck and they're just struggling and need a pick me up?
Yeah. So remember, we all started somewhere. We all started with zero. And, if you're struggling and you're not quite sure what to do, get on a team. If you don't know what to do, find a team in your area that you'd like to be a part of and talk to the team leader. And I will tell you, as an agent that had a team, there are people that are great at running teams, and there are agents that are honestly really their best self when they're on a team. My buyer's agent did all her business when she was on, and she'll even say this. She wanted to go out on her own. She struggled. She came back on my team. And now that I'm no longer in that state, she's like, I've never been able to produce again the way that I produce. She was a great showing agent, closer, buyer's agent. She was not a great hunter. So she got all the leads from me. Once she got the lead, she was amazing. And there are people that just aren't good at certain facets of real estate. So figure
Yeah.
out what it is that you're really good at and stick with that and look for that leverage elsewhere.
Love it. Love it. Now you have a pretty big following on Instagram. You have like 260,000 followers, I think I saw, and that's quite a bit. But then also, did I see that you were on House Hunters?
Yeah, so I've had my listings on House Hunters. I've been on American
That's
Dream
cool.
TV. I've hosted and produced 4 TV shows myself. So, TV show called Places and Spaces that I worked on. And then I did the American Dream TV show for a while as well. So
Yep.
I've had my stint in TV and media.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wrapped up my American Dream. I did 6 episodes there and felt I just need to build the brokerage now versus spotlight me. So I'm stepping out of that little spotlight, but it was a cool experience and I enjoyed it. And then you also do coaching as well, right?
I do, yeah. So I do. I've really migrated more towards executive coaching and strategic positioning for businesses. I do coach realtors. That's how I started. So I am selective of who I work with, but I
Mhm.
absolutely will talk to any realtor that would like to do coaching with me. For the most part, I am more so helping now, like I work with a lot of like brands and businesses to help them scale.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
if you're a realtor, brokerage owner, if that's the thing too, like with brokerage owners, I actually can provide the training and the sales, especially the social media and brand awareness for the brokerage and for the realtors. And I can offer that to the broker owners as well.
I love it. So Dana, where can people find you?
Yeah. So if you're looking to work with me, you can find me at Dana@danaflanagan.com is my email address. And my website is danaflanagan.com.
All right. Not too difficult. I love it. Well, Dana, thank you so much again for coming on and dealing with our tech issues between yesterday and today. I really appreciate that. And you're outstanding. So much knowledge, so much wealth. I'm sure you and I'll connect off camera as well, just to, chop it up. But thanks again for coming on, guys. That was the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Today we had Dana Flanagan talking about big picture type things and really hopefully expanding your mind and your brain about all the things that are available down the line for your career. But thanks again, Dana.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Awesome. Good. So that's a wrap here on the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Thank you so much for spending time with me and our guests. The people you hear on the show really aren't guessing. They've been doing the work. They've been doing it for a long time. They're sharing their behaviors, their habits, their successes, their systems that actually lead to real work, real success. So please subscribe and follow so you don't miss the next conversation. Until next time, remember, you don't suck. You're learning. It's the beginning, or maybe you're in a rut, but you don't suck. So make a few changes, stay curious, stay consistent, and please keep coming back.